Swayed Ryan Micallef in particular to move up the championship order quite nicely here. Ryan Micallef starting fourth on the grid, started his season off with a non-finish in the opening race at Snetterton, but as we can see here today, has the pace to be finishing on or around the podium. So cars then lining up on the grid, a beautiful sight they make here in the summer sunshine at Oulton Park, and once the back few rows are in position, we'll get the green flag and the Go Racing sign here for 15 minutes of Fiesta Junior action. Luke Hilton then, the white and yellow car on the left. A very aggressive angle on the grid for Sam Nessa alongside him there, the grey, white and pink coloured car. That is making his intentions well known. He intends to come across to the inside line, hopefully ahead, he hopes, ahead of Luke Hilton before they get to turn one. Back of the grid in position then, we watch now for the starting gantry to illuminate in red, which it will do now. And race number 5 of the championship bursts into life here at Oulton Park. Who's going to make the best start from the front row of the grid? It's near identical launch, I think, between the top two. Not the best of starts, though, for Ben Ryan. He's under pressure on the inside there from Dan Lewis, and on the outside from Ryan Micallef. It will be the pole sitter who leads them through Old Hall Corner. Bit of paddle bashing going on further behind, but let's hope they all get through in one piece. Looks as though they do. So a clean start, and the race lead held by Luke Hilton. Second place, Sam Nessa. Third place will be the number 11 car of Ben Ryan. Came out of that still in third then by the looks of it. Meanwhile, that is Billy Blockley, I'm afraid, going no further. His race not even getting underway. I think he's stalled on the line and hasn't been able to get the car fired back up. Leaders down into the braking zone at the head, but they're almost 3 abreast there for third. That's for fourth, sorry. Ryan Micallef at the inside of Daniel Lewis, who looked to have made the best of the starts from those off the front row, but ended up slipping back down to where he came from in 5th position, and he's desperately now trying to defend that place now as they head over the hill. At the inside of him is looking Lucas Hayden, I think that was. If it is Lucas, he started 8th, and he's now up into the top 5 too, so a really good start from him. He's got the inside line into the chicane. Oh, is he going to be able to make the move stick? There's barely room for 2 cars side by side through here. Rather inevitably, one of them ends up on the grass, and it is the 46 car of Hayden, who bounces back on the road directly in front of Maximilian Salarski there in the orange and black number 33, who now drags up alongside him, heading over Clay Hill underneath the footbridge. It's very lively in the midfield, pretty serene in comparison at the head of the pack as they turn through the double apex right-hander. This is where it all starts to get a little bit messier. Slipping up the inside was Jacob Hodgkiss there in the Mark 7 car, and picking up a position as a result. Now, dive on the brakes, up the inside, looks to go. Ben Ryan thinks better of it though, wasn't quite late enough on the brakes to make that particular move stick. As there around the outside goes Doughty in the number 28 machine, who started 6th. He's one of those drivers who have slipped backwards in the opening exchanges. One lap in the books then. Hilton leads, Nessa 2nd, Ryan 3rd, Micallef 4th, Lewis on his own there in 5th position really, 6th place then for Salarski, 7th Hayden, 8th Chigarimbo, and then the battle going on behind for 9th between Jacob Hodgkiss and Ben Doughty, and Hodgkiss retaining 9th place now as they head down the avenue onto the brakes into Cascades. You really get a graphic illustration here of just how evenly matched the 2 generations of car are. James Pope, I can tell you, is in the pit lane with, I think, front-end damage. So James Pope, unfortunately, might be out of the race, but I think he and Blockley, the only 2 that we've missed, that we've lost to the pit lane at the end of that opening lap. Leaders over hilltop again. Well, Ryan, I think, is perhaps a bit quicker than Nessa, but needs to get on with this because Luke Hilton is escaping up the road, and they're both being caught by Ryan Micallef behind him. They've just had another car come into the pit lane, which looks like it was Jasmine Shaw with a very deranged right front corner. So Jasmine's race also, I fear, coming to an early close as the leaders head out of Knickerbrook and over Clay Hill again. 2nd, 3rd and 4th, the battle goes to tail. They run towards the quickest part of this Oulton Park Island circuit. Luke Hilton, who has not had the best of starts to the season, it must be said, had that win, like I said, at Snetterton, but hasn't really been scoring high since then. To try and get the season back on track, and he'd be loving seeing this in his mirrors, because the more Nessa and Mulryan battle for 2nd, the further away he should get. Mulryan sells the dummy, goes from the outside to the inside at Lodge Corner. Oh, the door is closed. Nessa tagged sideways, and watch for Ryan Micallef to gain an advantage out of all of this. Gets a mega run on the pair of them, and he's going to sweep to the outside of both. And I think Ryan Micallef might just have the momentum here to go from 4th to 2nd in one fell swoop. Fantastic reactionary driving that from Micallef. He knew where to go, he saw the gap, he had the momentum, and he's into 2nd place. Ryan still hasn't got the job done against Sam Nessa, who gets eased out wide over the curb at Old Hall Corner, and they run side by side again down into Cascades, where surely Nessa will have the advantage on the inside. That he does, and so Ben Ryan's frustration increases. That is Lucas Hayden off the road now, and that's more broken front suspension, I am afraid. So Lucas Hayden, I don't know how that's been sustained, but he's pulled off the road at least and is reasonably far out of the way. Hopefully we won't have a need for a safety car, but very, very close quarters racing, it has to be said. More side by side. Look at this pack. This looks like the first lap of the race, doesn't it? They're all on top of each other into the hairpin. On the outside line, number 51 is Flame Auricola, potentially losing a position or two there. Auricola was 13th at the start of the lap, but I think that was Hadley Simpson slipping up the inside of her. So there, Harry England, number 3, on the outside line with, if I might be Simpson up the inside of him, it is Simpson in the 37 trying to slip through as well. There goes, excuse me, number 85, that was, I beg your pardon. So that is for about 15th, 16th place that Harry England's battling away. Number 90 car in that Group 2 of Wesley Swain. Doesn't matter where you are in the order, there's a battle to be had in this one. Over the top of the hill, into Druid's Corner they go, and just now finally starting to settle down. Marcel Lasky I saw there as well, the number 55 car in the hunt. As 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them all come down into Lodge Corner, pretty much inseparable from one another. Leader's just gone through, by the way, 3.2 seconds the advantage now for Hilton over Mikulev. Mikulev was only a tenth slower, as here comes Bull Ryan back up the inside of Sam Nessa for third, and again Sam Nessa just turns into the corner as if Ben Ryan wasn't there. That time Ben saw it coming and bailed before the two of them ended up making contact. There is the 46 car, I'm afraid, at the side of the road though, and there's someone going grass tracking down the avenue. Who that was, I'm not entirely sure. It might have been Flame Auricola. I think I saw her getting in the thick of the action coming through Old Hall Corner in the background. But Lucas Hayden will have had a grandstand view of that, stood at the side of the track at the top of the hill at Cascades. So down towards us at the hairpin they go. Now the car I saw on the grass, it wasn't Flame Auricola, I don't think. It was the number 94 of Jacob Hodgkiss there, the blue, white and yellow car. He was the one who got elbowed out wide through Old Hall Corner that time. As a result, loses a couple of positions because Marcel Lasky's gone through, and so did somebody else, possibly Doughty, in the number 28 car. Yes, it was the white number 28 car with whom he was battling at the time. Through his lobs, not even halfway through the race yet, and plenty to talk about in this first Fiesta Junior action of the day. Purple middle sector has just been set by Pemble Ryan, meanwhile. He still hasn't got past Sam Nessa to my knowledge, but quite clearly is one of the fastest cars on the track. If only he could break past Sam, I think he's got a good chance of getting at least second before the end of the race. It's here the battle between the number 55 of Latchkey and the number 96 of Smith continues to rage on. Black and white warning flag being given to car number 58, by the way, so that is about track limits, just a warning for the time being, so no penalty incoming just yet. But the first driver already being warned about exceeding track limits is Pemble Ryan again. Fishes around on the inside of Old Hall Corner, but as we saw a lap ago, you don't really do enough braking into that turn in a Fiesta Junior car, so very difficult to actually launch an out braking manoeuvre. Being reeled in now, aren't they, by Daniel Lewis, so for the sort of unofficial Mark 7 class lead. Not that they have their own class, but I'm sure there's a private battle between the Mark 7 drivers to be the best on the grid. That is closing in nicely between Bull Ryan and Lewis. So the brakes through the island hairpin. Sam Nessa just drifting out a little bit wide there. The race car consultant's prepared machine not exactly finding the apex as he intended, but as we saw from Alex Lee in that TCR race earlier on, you can run wide through the hairpin and still get good traction up the hill. But actually didn't get a great run over the hill. Ben Ryan is going to launch up the inside as he's desperately late on the brakes, but actually not braking that much later, if at all, than Sam Nessa. It just looks really exciting because he's ducking and diving around in the mirrors of the third place car, then runs wide out at Knickerbrook Corner. Driven double the distance of anyone else in this race so far, Ben Ryan. He's trying every weird and wacky line possible to try and break through the defences of Sam Nessa, and they've suddenly caught Ryan Mikulev. What's going on here? Mikulev has got problems, I think. The Jam Sport car suddenly off the pace. Nessa has gone through. as they head through Druids. Now, was that a mistake, a missed gear? Maybe it was, because he's coming immediately back at Nessa as they head for Lodge Corner. So some sort of temporary issue for Ryan Mikulev, and he wants to get the place back. Looks up the inside at Lodge, that doesn't work, and it might now hamper his exit speed. Down the hill, Benmore Ryan seeing an opportunity once again to break onto the podium, but this time it's the number 71 car that he's trying to find a way past. Peeks to the inside. Oh, that is Harry England's car. That's on the island bend, so it's off the track, that. Don't worry. Won't be any need for yellow flags for too long there, as Ryan and Lewis both now get themselves up ahead of Ryan Mikulev. So Mikulev drops down into 5th position. There's damage to the back of the 71 car. I wonder if he went bouncing across the grass somewhere out of shot, and that's where he lost his momentum, possibly coming out of Knickerbrook Corner. So the number 71 machine walking slightly wounded. There are yellow flags out temporarily down at the Island hairpin. They turn around the slowest corner on the track. It is still Sam Nessa who holds on to 2nd position. Down into the Hislop chicane, they will head. Nessa on the brakes, wriggling around. Benmore Ryan, we know he's going to be on the attack here. Not content to sit in 3rd position. They're nearly 5 seconds, well, Sam Nessa is nearly 5 seconds behind Luke Hilton. Black and white warning flag now for Rasham Tyler Chigarimbo. He sits down in 8th position. Now England's car stationary at Island Bend, and that car going no further. That looks like mechanical rather than accident damage though, doesn't it? Here comes Benmore Ryan to the outside. Oh, he's on the grass into Lodge. There's contact. What is going on? Benmore Ryan with one of the most ambitious overtakes I've ever seen attempted at Lodge Corner, and unsurprisingly it doesn't work. Sam Nessa hangs on, but Benmore Ryan 10 out of 10 for effort and inventiveness, but that was a low percentage move, I think it's fair to say. A little bit of bodywork went flying, but no major damage done, and now all of a sudden Daniel Lewis thinks, well, do I really want to get involved in this battle? Benmore Ryan's been the most exciting driver to watch in this race, that is for sure, but needs to just rein things in ever so slightly, I think. Down through Cascades again. Leaders make their way down the Lakeside Straights. Sam Nessa, Benmore Ryan and Dan Lewis. Battle engaged here for 2nd position. And Nessa weathering the storm nicely. His car is a little second-hand now, but he is managing to fend off Benmore Ryan despite the ever more so aggressive driving being shown by the number 11 car behind. Desperation, I think, starting to set in here for Benmore Ryan, but he's not given up yet. 3 1/4 minutes to go, and I do think if he's patient about this, there is a move to be made. But in fairness, Nessa isn't overly defending either, and I think that's part of what's adding to the frustration, because if he were to start defending, that would immediately slow it down and, in a way, make Benmore Ryan's job a little bit easier. But he's not choosing to do that. Defends when he absolutely has to. So perhaps we'll see a defensive move into Lodge Corner. Will we see Benmore Ryan try the outside line again? I would like to think he'd be tempted not to try that after the near disaster a lap ago. He's got a good exit from Druids though. Again, Nessa does this time have to pull to the inside. Well, Ryan goes to the outside. He's going to jink back to the inside line. Is he late enough on the brakes this time? No. Sam Nessa sends it into the corner, and Benmore Ryan still cannot find a way through. Brilliant battle this between the two of them. We've got 2.5 minutes of this to go, so 2 more laps remain in the 5th round of the BRSCC Fiesta Junior Championship. And here we go again. Benmore Ryan sticks the nose to the inside. Has at least now realised, I think, that Oulton Corner is not going to be the place to get that move made. There is Ryan Mikulev, by the way. I thought I didn't see him in that shot, so his car limping home. That bodywork damage on the back has got worse, but I can't help but think there's something a bit more significant going on than that to force him into the pit lane and into retirement. Great battle pack about to come into view here down the hill. It's a battle that is going on for, I think, 9th place. Ronnie Smith, Jacob Hodgkiss at the head of it. That's a group worth checking in with at some point, but the 2nd placed scrap continues to rage through the hairpin. Inch perfect there on track limits on the exit for both of them. They head up the hill. Here is the group of cars that caught my attention out the window just now, though. It's anyone's guess what order they've got themselves into now, but I do think this is 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th and 15th place. passes, and there's contact into the hairpin. George Foxlow and Wesley Swain there getting very familiar with each other under braking, and that actually is going to cost Wesley a position or two, I think, coming over the hill. Swain allows Simpson now alongside. They've got the number 871 of Jensen Bell in that group as well. In fact, he may have already gone through there, I think, on the run up and over the hill. Meanwhile, number 94 comes through. That is Hodgkiss. Jacob Hodgkiss started 12th. At 10th position he was at the start of the lap. So over Clay Hill they head again. Starting the final lap of the race in a moment or two. The race leaders are anyway, this group some way behind, about 20 seconds or so behind the leading contenders. There goes your second, third, fourth place battle. Fifth on his own for Solarsky, sixth likewise for Doughty, seventh place then for Chigarimbo, eighth for Latchkey, and in this ninth place battle, and there's one off. There's one off at Druids, going backwards through the gravel. That was the 85 car of Jensen Mason, who had just gained a position, I think, previously, but now has ended up off the road. We've had a change for second, by the way, I think I've just seen through Old Hall Corner, as this battle continues to get a little bit touchy-feely over the hill. They don't know which way to go, do they? This, though, is side-by-side for second place. Benmore Ryan got up the inside of Nessa through Old Hall Corner. Ran wide on the exit. Nessa trying to go right round the outside of Cascade. Surely that isn't going to work. Fantastic respect given there by Benmore Ryan. Left him plenty of space, and that might now allow Nessa to go through on the inside of the hairpin. Rejoining there was Jensen Mason at Druids, but on the final lap of the race, it is wheel-to-wheel for second place, and Sam Nessa will go back through. Terrific racing. That is how it is done. You can run side-by-side here at Oulton Park without making contact, without going on the grass, and they just showed that beautifully. It ain't over yet, though. Well, Ryan comes back up alongside over Hilltop, and that's the outside now, down into the braking zone at Hislop. Surely he's not going to go right round the outside here. Oh, no, Sam Nessa just gets into the chicane ahead. But you know what's coming, don't you? Well, Ryan's going to have a big go into that final corner at Lodge, which is the best overtaking opportunity on the track. All those years ago, they inadvertently designed almost the perfect racetrack, didn't they, here at Oulton Park, because the best place to pass is right at the end of the lap. So we get so many of these battles that rage right until the final moments of the race. No, not Druids, Ben. I meant Lodge. From the inside, he looks. It's still not going to work. And Sam Nessa knew that that wasn't going to work. Just turned across the bows of the number 11 car, and that might now have scuppered more Ryan's chances of attacking at the final corner. Another car off down at Island Bend, but we'll get to that in a moment, because second place heads into Lodge Corner for the final time. Sam Nessa, I think, is going to do this. It will be a victory for Luke Hilton, his second victory of the year. What will happen for second place, though? Hilton flashes the lights, takes the checkered flag. Second place is a drag race. Will Ryan up the inside, but he's not going to get there. It is Sam Nessa who manages to withstand an onslaught there from Benmore Ryan. And in fact, well, Ryan's been given a track limits penalty, so it's actually Daniel Lewis on the podium, whilst further back, Latchkey's also been given 5 seconds added onto his time for exceeding track limits, so that will change the order slightly. Lewis ends up third, well, Ryan ends up fourth, Solarsky fifth, Doughty sixth, Chigarimbo seventh, Ronnie Smith eighth, Marshall Lesky is ninth after the penalty, and Flamer Ricola completes the top 10. Fantastic racing that was, though. Benmore Ryan, you can't say he didn't throw everything at that, can you? That was really bold stuff, a bit too bold maybe on a couple of occasions, but generally clean, and Sam Nessa fully deserving of that second place. It's a shame, though, really, that Will Ryan ended up off the podium with that penalty, and it means the first Mark 7 car home will be Daniel Lewis in third place overall. So there, Luke Hilton then drops down into the Hislop chicane, and he will claim 51 points, the maximum points from that race, for winning it with the fastest lap, as there is the Jensen Mason car that we saw off at Druids. He did get home with little to no damage, it seems, from that particular incident, which is good news. There'll be a little bit of panel beating to be done after that race to get the cars race ready for race 2, but as always, the juniors, really, really good entertainment. So Luke Hilton wins race 1 here at Oulton Park for the Fiesta Junior Championship. Sam Nessa second, Dan Lewis third, Benmore Ryan fourth, and Maximilian Solarsky in fifth. Ben Doughty then is in 6th, ahead of Rashan Chigarimbo, Ronnie Smith, Marcel Latchkey, and Flamer Ricola to complete the top 10. Then it was Jacob Hodgkiss, Hadley Simpson, Wesley Swain, and Jensen Mason after his off at Druids, whilst George Foxlow, Jensen Bell, Ryan Micallef, Harry England, Lucas Hayden, James Pope, and Jasmine Shaw were all not running at the flag. Fading back behind Luke Hilton, and then really just got kind of distracted battling with Benmore Ryan and Dan Lewis behind him. This time around, he'll have his eyes forward as he tries to challenge for the lead into turn number 1. Red lights then are on. 15 minutes of Fiesta Junior action about to get underway. Lights go out now, and away they go. Who gets into the first corner first? Good start made this time around by Nessa on the outside, but in the second phase of the start, Luke Hilton coming back at him, and he's got the inside line, remember, into Old Hall. That's usually the place to be, and it continues to be the place to be as he leads them through turn number 1. Does everyone else get through cleanly? Yes, Harry England on the grass, but a much cleaner start this time than we saw earlier on. And it will be Luke Hilton from pole position who leads them at Cascades. Nessa second, Will Ryan third, then fourth place, Micallef third, fourth for Will Ryan. And everyone else behind trying to just settle into line, single file, bit of door banging on the exit of the corner, but nothing too major, as the marshal there rather pessimistically has the yellow flag ready down at the Highland hairpin. Someone comes launching up the inside, or maybe the yellow flags are going to be needed because there's 3 wide there at the apex. Someone shoveling their way through, gaining 2 places, but perhaps losing 2 friends in the process, because that was a very aggressive move from quite a long way back, heading into the tight right-hander at Ireland. The race leader, though, is Luke Hilton. Nessa second, Micallef third, then Will Ryan, then Lewis, then Lucas Hayden sits next in line. And up on the curve there, another car making a slightly aggressive move through the Hislop chicane. That's the number 96, isn't it, coming through? And that is Ronnie Smith, started 14th, but I'd say he's a bit further up than that, halfway around the opening lap. But over Clay Hill, one car taken to the dirt there, but Luke Hilton's gone. He's already starting to check out now, ahead of Nessa, with the number 71 of Ryan Micallef right on his rear bumper. Second and third, the two perhaps most likely to change now as they head into Lodge Corner. And Sam Nessa pulls to the middle of the road. Is Micallef going to dive to the inside? Yes, he is. Late on the brakes. Is he late enough? Yes, he is to get to the inside, but not late enough to make the move stick. They'll now delay each other on the exit, and so Ben Ryan could have the momentum as they come across the start-finish line and head towards Old Hall Corner. Still, Micallef is hunting around behind Nessa. Is there a gap on the inside line? Nessa defends, but then goes back to the racing line. That opens the door nicely for Ryan Micallef. There's contact on the apex, but he manages to go through. And, well, a little bit of paint traded, but Micallef has taken second, and they both at least managed to continue on without bouncing down the grass. Now Daniel Lewis closing in as well, as Ben Ryan, the lead Mark 7 car in the race at the moment, tries to move himself onto the overall podium. Down to Ireland Bend then, Ryan Micallef trying to make amends for a disappointing retirement in the opening race when he was in podium contention. Oh, and now gets a tap in the tail, not once but twice from Sam Nessa. I don't think Sam appreciated the move at turn 1. It's all getting a bit silly now over the hill. Still think Ben Ryan's in the pound seat here behind them. He's got the momentum, but nowhere to go as they run side by side over hilltop. Now something has to give down into the braking zone at Hislops. Nessa on the inside, Micallef tries to go right round the outside. Fantastic. The Jam Sport driver does get back into second place, and in fairness, that time around they left each other just enough space, not so much into Knickerbrook though, where again Micallef ends up sideways, and Will Ryan, instead of gaining places, might now lose out because Daniel Lewis is up the inside of him and might just be about to take 4th place away heading towards Druids Corner. Luke Hilton doesn't know what he's missing out on here. He's a country mile ahead of this almighty battle for second. Nessa and Micallef leaning on each other into Druids. That is not a place that you want to be banging doors. And Nessa is back through into second position. The queue of cars getting bigger now as number 55 has stopped out on the track. That's Marcel Latchkey. And there's another one down at Hilltop. That might have been 37 Hadley Simpson. We'll get to them in a minute though, because it's all kicking off at Lodge Corner. Dive up the inside there for the number 92 of Rashan Tyler Chigarimbu, who elbows aside Lucas Hayden. It was quite a calm start to this race, but it's starting to pick up a lot now, isn't it? Luke Hilton leads the way by, wait for it, 6.3 seconds over, well, Ryan Micallef for now in second, then Dan Lewis up the inside of Sam Nessa for third, at the place where Nessa lost second place a lap ago. Lewis is going to squeeze through, I reckon, although Nessa will try and come back at him down into Cascades Corner. I'm sure they are still door to door as they head through the right-hand kink at Denton's, then they turn left, and that will favour Nessa, who will retain third. Well, Ryan slipped on the inside, not quite. Dan Lewis closing the door in his face, and all take a deep breath. There is a yellow flag out at the Ireland hairpin. This is because of the car that we just saw stationary at the side of the road. So no overtaking through here. That's no overtaking Lucas Hayden into the yellow flag zone. He just slipped up the inside of Ben Doughty, I think, into the corner of Maximilian Solarski's ahead of them both, I think. Hayden now under threat again from the 92. It's actually Chigarimbo, so Chigarimbo's dropped down the order somewhere through all of that. And Lucas Hayden got past him, and now someone else trying to slip up the inside as well. That's the 96 car, isn't it, of Ronnie Smith, who makes the move stick. Nicely done under braking into Hislops. So hard to keep up, isn't it, with the positional changing? They're changing almost by the corner, and another car has hit the tyres down at Knickerbrook, and I think that was Chigarimbo off the road. And yet again, those tyres on the apex at Knickerbrook corner claiming another victim, and that is another car off into the tyre barriers then. So Rashan Chigarimbo out of the race. I'm all for deterring them from exceeding track limits, but when you're getting cars wrecked by tyre stacks on corner apexes, perhaps it's time to rethink that. But anyway, that's another car, the fourth of the weekend that we know of, who has clipped those tyres, and Rasham starts counting the cost already. The Jam Sport team have lost one of their cars, and the yellow flags and safety car boards are out again. Now, remember I said that 6.5 second lead that Luke Hilton had? That's now going to disappear, and a fired up Ryan Mikulev is going to arrive right on his tail. If we get a couple of laps of racing here, which I think we should, then Ryan Mikulev's going to be well up for the fight, isn't he? Sensing a chance for a maiden victory. Then you've got Nessa third, 3 of the Mark 6 cars then at the front for the time being. Whilst Daniel Lewis and Ben Mulryan, 4th and 5th, are leading the Mark 7 brigade. So there is, I think this was the 37, wasn't it, of Hadley Simpson on the descent from Hilltop. He trudges away. Was he involved perhaps with the car of Marcel Latchkey at the Island Hairpin? It seems coincidental, doesn't it, that both of them ended up off within a few hundred metres of each other at more or less the same time. And Latchkey's car is thankfully out of harm's way. To be fair, so I would argue is Simpson's as well. It's behind or near a barrier at a part of the circuit where it's rare to see cars go off, not unheard of, but should be relatively safe just there. So fingers crossed we'll get back to racing very soon once they've got Rashan Chigarimbo's car out of the way. There you can see Hadley Simpson's car well off the track, really, on the run down the hill. So not quite halfway through this race then. Luke Hilton, the race leader, will not be happy at the safety car coming out. The only option though really with the car in a dangerous position, that's going to take a bit of recovery, isn't it? It is right up against the tyre wall, but the fact we've had 3 or 4 cars, you can see the tyre marks of other cars that have been through that gravel track through doing exactly the same thing, and that means that they're not going to be comfortable keeping that car there. So he'll probably need 2, maybe 3 laps behind the safety car. This is going to take away most of the race, unfortunately. It's really how quickly they can get that car out of the gravel, because with broken steering it's going to be harder to get it out of the gravel trap than it ordinarily would be. As the 871, Jensen Bell, non-finisher in the earlier race, but he's running again in this one. Jensen is 17th place at the moment. We've still got 19 of them running, with Jasmine Shaw, the last car, trouble-free, and we go red flag now. So red flag out, and this, I think, is a sensible call. I suspect it's because they've realised it's going to take the rest of the race to get these cars moved out of the way. So rather than just traipsing around behind the safety car for another 7 minutes and robbing us of any racing, they'll stop the race and hopefully have time for a restart. It is 5 o'clock here at Oulton Park. We were about 7 or 8 minutes ahead of time, so we have got time to stop the race and restart it over maybe 5 minutes, I reckon. Versus Ryan Mikulev is going to be a sight to behold here, I think, into turn number 1. 7 minutes then, the restarted 6th round of the BRSCC Fiesta Junior Championship. Hilton on the left, white and yellow, white, black and green, number 71, Ryan Mikulev, and then keep an eye to Dan Lewis, the black and orange car third, the grey, white and pink of Sam Nessa in 4th position as well. Green flag waves at the back of the grid. 7 minutes of BRSCC Fiesta Junior action about to get back underway, and those red lights will go on. They go out pretty quickly. Away we go, and is it going to be Mikulev? Is it going to be Hilton? It's going to be Hilton, I think, who's made clearly the better start this time around. So Hilton leads them down into Old Hall Corner, immediately jinks over onto the racing line. Mikulev goes with him, and Nessa does so too, completely ignoring the fact that he had Ben Mulryan to his left-hand side, and now Ben gets tagged sideways by Lucas Hayden. Off onto the grass he goes, and crunch into the barriers, and Ben Mulryan is going to be well and truly miffed at all of that, because that was all a tad unnecessary, really. Through Cascades they go, Another car there with broken front bodywork. That's Ben Doughty in the number 28 car. It is Luke Hilton that leads, though. More mirror bashing going on now down the back straight. That's really dangerous to be making contact there. And that was Sam Nesser getting involved with the 33 of Maximilian Solarski, who has gained a number of places since the restart. So good restart for Solarski, who manages to force his way through into 4th position. Over hilltop they go again, then down towards the braking zone at Hislops, and it is number 32 Luke Hilton who leads. It is 71 Ryan Micallef second, and number 19 Dan Lewis still the leading Mark 7 car in 3rd place. Did red flag, that answers my question. Ben Mulryan did not get going again from Old Hall Corner, and this time I think it's going to be curtains for the Fiesta Juniors. I don't see them being given a 3rd chance at this, so red flag will fly, and the race being stopped, so unsure exactly as to what the reason might be, but the race being stopped, I suspect it's something to do with Ben Mulryan's car being off at Old Hall Corner, but either way I don't think we're going to see the car make the move. It's then a case of how difficult Luke Hilton wants to make it for him, really, isn't it? Onto the grid they come again then. Take 3, surely the final attempt now at getting this Fiesta Junior race in. Creep towards the end of the day. A 5-minute restart then for the juniors. They'll get 3 flying laps, I'd have thought, in that time. As long as we don't get any more safety cars, I would have thought at the first sign of a safety car, the red flag will fly again and the race would be ended, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. Cars gridded up then, green flag waved at the back of the grid. Let's try this again. Luke Hilton on the front row of the grid alongside Ryan Micallef, as we watch for the lights on the starting gantry, which go on now. They go out very quickly again. Off they go towards Old Hall Corner, and Luke Hilton tries once again to convert pole into the race lead, which he will. Terrible start by Micallef this time. Nesser goes through, so will Dan Lewis. In fact, Micallef's got a big problem. I think he's really struggling to get up to speed. There's a squeeze into Old Hall Corner. Can they all get away with it this time? Yes, somehow, I think. Down the avenue they go, but Ryan Micallef is plummeting down the order. I think he's stuck in gear or something. That car is not accelerating as they head for Cascades Corner. That's Lucas Hayden out the inside of Daniel Lewis, bringing with him the number 33 of Maximilian Solarski, who moves into 4th. But we're once again now in a Hilton versus Nesser scrap for the race lead. Somehow, through all of the drama, Sam Nesser has picked his way back into 2nd place. Hayden in 3rd. Dive up the inside there against Daniel Lewis. That was a brave move from the number 96 car of Ronnie Smith. Ronnie Smith into the top 5 now with that overtake. But all of this going on some way behind the leading 2, who head down into the braking zone at Hislops. It's side by side almost for 3rd there as Lucas Hayden's got round the outside of him. Maximilian Solarski. Solarski just drove past him over the hill, but then outbrakes himself through the Hislop chicane. The race car consultant's driver tries to come back at him, but can't quite get alongside as they turn through Knickerbrook Corner. Climb up and over Clay Hill. Leaders checking out, then 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, nose to tail under the bridge. And can Maximilian Solarski hang on to that 3rd position? Solarski hasn't had a podium finish yet this season, so he's not going to want to give this one up without a real fight. Through Druids, helping him at the moment is the fact that Lucas Hayden's under all sorts of pressure from Ronnie Smith, who also, I'm fairly certain, hasn't had a podium yet this season. No, he has actually had a 3rd back at Snetterton. He's going for 4th now at the inside of Hayden at Lodge Corner, and then it's Daniel Lewis behind. Someone's out wide. That is Solarski, so that's going to delay his run over the hill, and they're all going to arrive at Old Hall Corner together, fighting for 3rd, aren't they? Solarski just about ahead, side by side behind him between Lewis on the inside, and on the outside line the number 96 machine of Ronnie Smith, and Smith will have to duck in behind the Mark 7 on this occasion. So down into Cascades they go. Maximilian Solarski in 3rd position, did have that 2nd place finish at Snetterton, I remembered correctly. So already had a podium, but a 2nd of the season would not be frowned upon, that's for sure. And he's starting to get away now from Lewis in 4th position, who's rather more preoccupied with what Ronnie Smith's doing behind him. Now there's a gap on the inside here into the hairpin. Daniel Lewis sees to that, moves to the inside to cover, and as long as he stops the car on the apex, which he does, he should come out of the hairpin still in front. Ryan Micallef, by the way, is in the pit lane now, having limped round, I think, stuck in about 2nd or 3rd gear, based on the lack of acceleration at the start, and that's well, a bit too much acceleration for Harry England, overshooting the island hairpin and dropping out of the back of the pack. And into Hislops then, hopping over the curb for Ronnie Smith as he three-wheels his way through Hislops into the right-hander at Knickerbrook. Avoid the tyre stack, don't run wide over the curb on the exit, get the best run possible up the steep Clay Hill. And try and build an attack now through Druids into Lodge corner. There go the top two, Hilton and Nessa. Oh, real sideways moment there for Stolarski. The rear of that car looks like it's on casters as he turns into Druids corner. We're going to get the last lap per board this time. So one more time around the 2.6 mile Oulton Park circuit. Can Stolarski do this? Can he hang on, or can Dan Lewis get through? He's looking to the outside at Lodge. That didn't work though. Cuts back again on the exit. Tries to get the drive through the dip and over Dearly, which he will do because Stolarski wasn't exactly neat and tidy out of Lodge. And does that now leave him vulnerable into Old Hall corner? He thinks it might because he pulls to the inside to defend. Dan Lewis comes to his outside. Now surely he can't go right round the outside at Old Hall corner. That is a low percentage move and Stolarski knew it. He committed to the turn and manages to stay ahead. That aborted overtake attempt by Dan Lewis means that Ronnie Smith now gets the better exit from Old Hall. Might think about sticking it up the inside into Cascades, but decides that that wasn't a sensible course of action. He's almost pushing, well, he is pushing him through Cascades. Bump drafting in Fiesta Juniors at Oulton Park, something you don't see all that much of. And Daniel Lewis really with a fight on his hands here to hang on to fourth place. He was officially third at the line by by 19 thousandths of a second. Fourth, I should say, at the line, but he has now dropped back behind Stolarski once again. So across the line, over the hill they go, down towards Hislops, half a lap to go. And Luke Hilton and Sam Nessa looking like they're pretty static at the front of the field. Battle on at the back of that group though, Lucas Hayden and Flame Ricola. This is about the best we've seen from Flame so far this season. As she looked around the outside there of Lucas Hayden, that's for sixth position they're battling. Means they become detached slightly from the three cars ahead, who now make their way over Clay Hill for the final time of the day. There are the top two. Such a assured drive this by Luke Hilton, but Stolarski is under threat again as to the outside goes Daniel Lewis. Now he's going to have a go into Lodge, you can be absolutely certain of that. Is Stolarski going to cover the inside, or does he trust that Lewis isn't going to make a big rash lunge? Here we go on the brakes. Well, actually, it might be Ronnie Smith who makes the lunge. He does. Gets up the inside into the back of Lewis, who's tagged sideways. Almost gets into the back of Stolarski himself. Thankfully, crisis averted. Across the line goes Luke Hilton to win round 6 of the BRSCC Fiesta Junior Championship. Sam Nessa second, third for Maximilian Stolarski, and fourth, there's someone off at Lodge. Who is that off at Lodge? That is 85, isn't it? Oh, he's another one that's lost a wheel, we think. Number 85 out of the race then. And he's not going to make it to the flag. That's Jensen Mason, who had been running in about 13th place, I think, at the time. Another car losing a wheel then in the closing stages. There is the car. Yeah, minus left front wheel. Where the left front wheel went, I don't know. But out he will climb. And he's going to be a non-finisher then. That means that Harry England moves into 15th as the last of the cars home. But it is Hilton who wins the race. Sam Nessa second, and Maximilian Stolarski in a solid third place. His second podium finish of the season. Dan Lewis fourth, fifth then for Ronnie Smith, and the rest filing in behind. Well, let's take a look at how they did cross the line then. Hilton the winner from Sam Nessa in second position. So Luke Hilton with his second win of the season, and an important one for the championship as well. Sam Nessa and Stolarski on the podium, with Dan Lewis the first mark, 7 home in fourth ahead of Ronnie Smith. Then Lucas Hayden and Flame Ricola, with Wesley Swain in 8th, 9th James Pope, and 10th Jensen Bell. Billy Blockley was 11th ahead of George Foxlow, who was in the pit lane, remember, before one of the restarts. The red flags helping him rather, with Jasmine Shaw 13th and Jacob Hodgkiss in 14th place. Harry England, the last car on the lead lap at the end, still running. Jensen Mason will be a non-finisher, but may be classified ahead of Ryan Micallef because he was a lap down, and Mason technically did complete one more lap than Ryan. But Ryan Micallef then is going to be classified as a finisher, albeit at the back of the field. So, cars will make their way down into Parc Fermé very shortly, and we'll hear from the top three. See what they make of what was an eventful race, a very long race. Ended up taking about 30 minutes longer than it should have done that, but we got there in the end, and good work by the marshals to make sure the track got cleared each time quickly enough to allow us to have a race restart. And in the end, didn't matter what we threw at Luke Hilton, he was able to bring that one home victorious, and having negotiated 3 standing starts, all of which he absolutely nailed, he came home a race winner. So through into Parc Fermé they go, and the number 32 of Luke Hilton pulls up into the winner's spot. Sam Nessa second, Sam has himself had a couple of podiums, I think. Obviously had the one earlier on today. He had one back at Snetterton too in the second race. So some familiar faces now starting to regularly appear at the front of the pack. But it is a double victory for Luke Hilton here at Oulton Park, just as Ben Mulryan did last time out at Croft. Let's hear from him now with Richard.